G'day Simon, how you going?
Hi Michael, I'm okay, thanks.
How's your week been?
Pretty busy,
Yeah?
lots of uni stuff due in.
Oh yeah, it's a bit of a killer time at the moment, I imagine.
It is,
For
yeah.
you? Yeah. Lots of-
Exams and assignments.
Okay, and how's it all going?
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Well, just wanted to touch on, recap, last week we talked a little bit about Acceptance and Commitment Theory, ACT. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah? Just something that we touched on there that I'd like to continue with, if it's okay with you, a little bit of I guess an exercise, just to help you out, I guess, at times where maybe you're struggling a little bit with anxiety. How does that sound to you?
Yep, sure.
Yeah. It'll take us about 5 minutes. The idea being, it's sort of how to kind of open up and accept feelings that we all have. We all have feelings of anxiety and so forth. Just to help open up and accept those feelings. That's the idea of it. Does that sound okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. It's a 5-minute exercise. We're talking really about just to help you allow the thoughts into your mind and to let them pass as they just naturally do. But not necessarily trying to control those thoughts or block them or turn them into something else that they're not. We call the exercise a leaves on the stream exercise. It's a bit of a strange one, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to ask you to use your imagination, maybe close your eyes and take your mind to a slightly different place. Use a different part of your brain, probably to what you've been using at uni, sort of the more emotional side of your brain rather than the rational side. Let's try it now. Get comfy here, close your eyes, use your imagination a little bit. I want you to imagine that you're sitting behind a beautiful stream. It's a nice sunny day, the stream's just trickling by where you are. And on this stream are some leaves. Now over the next few minutes, what I'd like you to do is to basically imagine, whenever you're having thoughts, however they pop up, but that's okay, just what I'd like you to do with those thoughts, with those feelings, regardless of whether they're positive thoughts, negative thoughts, happy thoughts, painful thoughts, whatever they are, just pop them on a leaf. Just kind of quietly observe them. So as you're having these thoughts, you pop them on the leaf. If your thoughts stop, if you have a moment where you're not having any thoughts, that's fine too. You can easily change streams if you need to. The idea is that when you're having these thoughts, you just pop them on a leaf. Watch them, observe them. Now the stream's just going at its own speed. You don't have to control that, you don't have to worry about it. It's not like we're trying to wash away these leaves and indeed wash away those thoughts. Not doing anything like that, they're just doing their own thing. That might be that your mind tells you that this is a really silly or a weird exercise. And that's okay too, it's a valid thought. So if that's the case, just pop that thought on a leaf. And watch it. If a leaf gets stuck, it's fine too, just let it be. Again, the purpose of the exercise isn't necessarily to wash away these thoughts, these leaves. Just observing them, letting them do their own thing on the stream. If you're having some difficult thoughts, maybe bored, feeling a bit impatient about the whole thing, I'd like you just to acknowledge those thoughts too. Pop them on a leaf and let them be. It's also really normal at times like this, feel that thoughts maybe to grab you and pull you out of the exercise. If that happens too, just realise that it's happening. Just gently acknowledge it. Okay, I'm going to jump back into the exercise now and take yourself back to your stream, and back to your leaves. exercise to an end for our purposes. Might get you to open your eyes, just readjust to the room and the daylight again. Little stretch, whenever you need to. How did you find the idea of just sort of letting your thoughts come and go?
It was a bit weird at first.
Yeah?
I was getting sort of distracted.
Okay, so yeah? Right. You were having thoughts that were distracting you? And that's perfectly normal to have that. The one little distinction I'd probably try and help you with there is that you weren't distracted. Your thoughts were distracting you. Do you see that difference? We touched on it last week a little bit.
Yeah, but I guess I kept thinking, my mind kept coming back to sort of anxiety, and I think I was feeling anxious, like I was doing this wrong, and I was just getting frustrated with myself, like, oh my God, I'm such a loser. I can't even do this exercise right.
Okay, yeah, but again, perfectly normal. Firstly, really good that you're recognising that your thoughts were distracting you in the first place. And that's that. I guess the first thing I need to point out about that is that that's that cognitive fusion that we were talking about, and what we're trying to now work on is that accepting those thoughts. So that's a really good thing that you're noticing that fact. So the thoughts you found hard to let go were your anxiety. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly. What I liked that you said though there was that your mind kept coming back to your thoughts of anxiety. So that's a sign, that's the type of language that we like to. Perfectly normal that your mind was taking you back to anxiety. I just wanted to take a moment to praise you for the fact that you used that phrase. My mind was taking me back to anxiety, and that's your recurring thought. It's perfectly normal. That's there, but you're using some of that vocab, I guess, that we're keen for you to use. And again, that's that diffusion. Do you know remember what I mean by that? That idea that you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are independent. And the whole purpose of this exercise is that you can have thoughts, you can let them go, and make room for them, and come and go as they need to, but you don't have to be your thoughts. So that's what we're really trying to achieve with this. I think following up on this, what I'd like to do for next week is a little homework task for you. We call this one struggling versus opening up. And basically what I'd like you to do is almost keep a kind of a diary of when you're having these thoughts that you talk about, these recurring thoughts of anxiety. Maybe I'll just show you here. We've broken it into the 4 columns. So when you're having thoughts of anxiety, this notion that you're a loser, these feelings, maybe just record the date, the time, what those feelings and those sensations are. Are there any bodily sensations that you're having when you feel them? Are they, is it butterflies in your stomach or something like that, or whatever it might be? And what events are triggering those? So in this instance, it was this guy making me do it, thoughts on the stream exercise, but it might be something else in your day-to-day life, at uni and at home and at work and everything. Then in the second column, what I'd really like you to record here is how much did you struggle with those feelings? Do you get what I mean? We discussed this a bit last week. That struggle, the idea that you're fighting against your feelings. And so a 0 means no struggle. So we're doing this on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 means no struggle, but a 10 means you're having a full-on maximum struggle with these thoughts. And I'd like you just to record a number each time you have that thought. So it's a 5, okay, you're in the middle. A 7, you're fighting a bit more strongly. And what did that actually mean for you to be in that struggle? Like what was that? What did you do, I guess, to struggle against your thoughts? How were you doing that? If you can keep a little record of that. Then in the next column, did you open up and make room for those feelings? So did you just go, oh, okay, I'm having a feeling of anxiety. did open up. How did you do that? How did you make room for these feelings? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, and then in the fourth column, what was the longer term impact, I guess, on your feelings of the struggle? So I guess what we're interested in there is seeing if the times where you're not struggling with your feelings, if that has any difference to the times where you are struggling. Do you think you can maybe?
Yeah. Do I have a copy of that?
Yeah, I'll give you a copy of that so you can take that with you, and then absolutely, you can record that when you're having those feelings, and then maybe next time we get together we can have a little chat about that. How does that sound for you?
Perfect.
Great. Well, we're pretty much out of time now. I did say it was a short exercise, so thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Michael.
Thank you. Okay, I can do this from here. All right, what are my questions I've got written? Okay. Explain your rationale for selecting the homework task. The homework task I chose was the struggling versus opening up worksheet. I guess I chose that really because I think it might help highlight to Simon and reinforce the impact that his struggle with his emotions is having. I feel like he's feeling anxiety and then getting anxious about being anxious a lot of the time, and that hopefully that might be a realisation that he gains from his workshop, and I guess the role that struggle is having in his the spiral. I guess it feels like it's almost a spiral, obviously then that can reinforce. Another thing is to reinforce this diffusion, a limitation. Okay, that technique might have with Simon. I think, I'm not yet convinced that Simon would be the type of person to pick up on some of those subtleties. Is that a nice way of saying it? Yeah, being of his age, I don't know that he's quite got that maturity to pick up on some of those subtleties around struggling with his emotions versus just making room for them. So I don't know that he'll quite do that, but maybe after reviewing it in the next exercise, we'll be able to sort of talk about it, and hopefully I'll get out of him something that he would if there are things that he's confused about. Okay, question 2, reflect on and evaluate the counselling communication skills. What went well? I rushed the exercise a bit. I can tell I rushed it a bit, but I know we had a short amount of time, so I probably would have spent more time asking Simon to just to chill and to get into his stream and to really relax with his emotions and those sort of things. So it felt a bit clunky and quick, and obviously part of that is that we're not doing this for 50 minutes or whatever. I'm not convinced there was a light bulb moment for Simon where he suddenly went, oh my God, I am separate from my emotions. I'm separate to my feelings. And I don't know if you get that. I'm not sure if counselling, if it's like that in the real world of counselling. It probably does take a bit of reinforcement and probably takes Simon going home to think about it all and for it to sort of click in. The notes I've got written down for him, where did I write my notes? I wrote my notes here. I've got his name, obviously Simon Luang, if that's how you pronounce it. Session 4, the date today, 14th of the 9th. His goals were to assist Simon with his feelings of anxiety and being a loser at the sort of the bigger picture, and then helping him both with acceptance and with diffusion. the topics discussed and the outcome. Well, we recapped a summary of ACT from last week, just to make sure he was sort of remembering that. We introduced the leaves on the stream exercise. I think there was, the outcome of that was, I guess there was a useful sort of discussion around the fact that his anxiety is the thing that was coming and back to him. I think we reinforced the notion of diffusion a little bit, so that's an outcome of it. We praised Simon for the fact that he used language about his thoughts coming back rather than, whereas previously he'd sort of talked about the fact that he was distracted. So we were able to reinforce that, I think, twice in our little debrief after the exercise. Under interventions and strategies, obviously we did the leaves on a stream, and then the other intervention or strategy was to use the struggling versus opening up worksheet as homework. And next session, obviously, we'd review his homework, and I guess depending on how much conversation that sparks, maybe after that we might introduce some metaphors for acceptance. I don't want to stereotype him as a young man in his 20s, but I've got a few in my life, and I imagine it might take a little while for them to understand. It might take a bit of reinforcement for the notion of acceptance, like this idea that you're accepting your emotions. It might be a bit difficult for someone of his years to gain. And then signed. Thanks very much. I hope I haven't gone on too long. Cheers.